WrestlePalooza goes down in a few days, and it seems to me that the main event is going to be John Cena versus Brock Lesnar. You can make of that what you will. I mean, we do have Cody versus Drew for a world championship, so that could sneak in there instead. But given that John Cena just did a big promo on Raw and addressed Brock Lesnar, meaning we basically coming to the end of the build, well, look into my eyes, my friends, I think it's a bit weird. Now, John Cena was very good here. He's always very good. He talked about being in Springfield and how he played college football. He's an offensive lineman. He got his butt whipped, and that trained him how to be a WWE superstar. Then he started to talk, I get so confused about this, how he is the last real world champion, which of course is what he was saying as a heel. I appreciate the fact that Cena is trying to carry it on to kind of merge the two characters. I don't think it necessarily works as a babyface, because he's now saying, the last real world champion is someone that has hustle, loyalty, respect, and you face these challenges. You don't fight your battles backstage, you do it in front of the camera, and you make sure you take your licks. And I'm like, well, lots of baby faces in WWE do that. Again, I know what he's getting at here, but I suppose it does tie into the wishy-washy heel turn. I still like John Cena as a bad guy. We've talked about it. Don't want to talk about it again, mostly because that's not what this video is about, and I'm bored of people yelling at me over it. What does it matter? I'm just a random bald guy on the internet, but I actually appreciate your feedback all of the time. But he thinks that Brock Lesnar's coming after him to stop that, but we needed Brock Lesnar to say that. Now, I know I'm kind of talking about what I talked about on SmackDown too, but I just didn't think SmackDown was very good last week, so I thought I'd focus on it here today. We needed Brock Lesnar and John Cena in a ring talking to each other, and Brock Lesnar saying this to John Cena, because John Cena doesn't know. It's all speculative. And also, how ridiculous was it that John Cena was advertised for this Raw? WWE made it quite clear. And Brock Lesnar went to SmackDown to try and find him, and then just didn't bother turning up on Monday. What a lazy attempt to try and confront someone. R-Truth, where is John Cena? I don't know, beats him up, doesn't search for him throughout SmackDown, and then, of course, forgets to fly into Springfield. It's so funny. It's quite clearly WWE is doing it because they've looked at what is the biggest marquee match we can put on, and John Cena Brock Lesnar has name value, for sure, although I hate tying it into this. The SmackDown rating wasn't anything special, I know, Monday Night Football, so I wonder how interested people are in Brock Lesnar these days, or how interested people are in this match. In fact, I'd love for you to comment below. I mean, that's the most important thing. Do you want to see it? You can say yes, you can say no, you can say maybe. There's no wrong answer. But I certainly don't feel like it's something that I desperately need to see, because also, I want John Cena to beat Brock Lesnar. I think that's important, given that he only has 6 dates left, but I don't necessarily think that allows him to jump into anything bigger. I kind of feel like he's going to stay in the same place, and if Brock Lesnar beat John Cena, you'd have to do it again. I don't want the rematch. And, well, ultimately what I'm trying to tell you is the build has just been weird. There's no real reason to do this match from a storyline point of view. Again, John Cena, they're so lucky they have John Cena for this stuff, because he can make anything work. But listen, they could prove me wrong by doing it on SmackDown, but John Cena's already said he's done his last SmackDown on this run. I just don't get it. And while I understand you understanding the star power that these two guys have, WWE last year especially would always go that one step beyond. They had everybody doing promos with each other. We even did the CM Punk Cody Rhodes promo off, which convinced me that was going to be the main event of next year's WrestleMania. Not so sure anymore. But anybody that could generate interest and anybody that would actually clash, they would ensure had a conversation, even if it was just talking about the future of the world title, because people want the world title. Brock Lesnar has returned at SummerSlam, vanished, returned at SmackDown, I believe it was, vanished, turned up to SmackDown and got it wrong, and then couldn't be bothered to come to Raw, and now they're just going to have a match. Now, I'm sure it's fine. I think it's going to be like the Extreme Rules match. We talked about this when Brock first came back in 2012. I think he's going to bludgeon John Cena before John Cena does get the victory. But it is disappointing, I will go with, that we weren't able to sort of make this feel like the mega massive match that it could have done, and is kind of just there, which may, I don't want to be too disparaging here, kind of ties into WWE overall, but I don't know. I'll let you decide that one as well. What I mean by that is there's just so much copy and pasting going on. We'll go to the main event, right? Enjoy all of the build. LA Knight teaming with Jimmy Uso. Jimmy Uso didn't want to do it, but then Jey Uso pissed him off by being Roman Reigns, so he decides to. Obviously, Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker win. They always win. They then fade into the background. It's so bizarre. They're winning matches and they fade into the background, but they do that. And then LA Knight and Jey Uso get into it, and because Jey Uso spit LA Knight last week, LA Knight made sure to drop him with the BFT. So you can argue that neither people have gone heel here. Of course, Jey Uso was mad at Jimmy Uso, even thinking that he would contemplate this, which worked against him. And Jimmy even said, listen, bro, you need to stop being the tribal chief because you ain't most definitely the tribal chief. That stuff is good. It makes LA Knight more interesting and makes him more of a badass. It makes Jey Uso way more interesting because, not that I mind this, but you don't want him to just become an entrance pop guy. He's got way more depth than that. But then, yeah, The Vision just vanished. So they won, but big deal. What are we doing with those? Especially because it is the Usos match this weekend. I don't feel like we let into that hard enough at all, but it's just the same. They win, then there's a beatdown, then people run in. Blah. Why couldn't we have done anything else? And why is this tag team match always made at the start of the show? Like, LA Knight and Jey Uso were pushing each other. So Anna Pierce like, oh man, can't believe you're doing this. And he just gave the tag team match to LA Knight. Why would LA Knight wanted a tag team match? Why wouldn't he have said, let me kick both their asses? I'll be a crazy person. Make it no DQ. I'll use a chair. It just, you honestly could have put the main event in any main event over the last 5 weeks. And I don't think you would have massively known the difference. It's good that we have the story stuff at the end, but Raw and, well, SmackDown, I feel like, thank goodness for Sami Zayn. And who the hell did he fight? Phoenix, right? Yes, thank goodness for that. Raw has moments for sure. Like the AJ Lee stuff we'll talk about in just 1 second. And John Cena was great too. But the concurrent storylines, it just need a bit of spark. And I think the reason that I feel heightened towards it is because in 2022, 23, and 24, WWE was all over that stuff. So I don't know whether they think they can kind of calm it down now because the fans are obviously more invested. But I think you can do that for a few weeks, even a few months. But I do think people start realizing it after a while. They feel that the heatness has died down. And then I think their interest dies down as well because everybody wants to take a break. That's not a wrestling thing. That's a life thing. And because it does take so much of your time up to watch sports entertainment, sometimes your brain will go, well, we can probably just watch the clips of that. So you watch the clips of social media. Then next time it's like, I'll just read about it. I'll watch an idiot on the YouTube. And then before long, you're keeping up to date in a very, very different way. So I hope the WWE coming out of WrestlePalooza, which is this Saturday, just does something different. I don't mind going into a full-on LA Knight Jey Uso feud. I think that will be great. Don't mind turning either one of them heel. Again, we have a operation that never ends. You can always turn them back babyface. But to get there, I just think we need to have a little bit more creativity. That's all it is, which also ties into the distractions, which Raw is always drowning in. Just do something else. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. It's one show. Everybody moves on so fast. But we mentioned the AJ Lee, CM Punk, Becky Lynch, and Seth Rollins segment. Too long for my personal taste, but the fans were into it the whole time, so what does it matter? I think Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch are fantastic. They're brilliant by themselves. They're brilliant together. I think Seth Rollins actually has found something new within this relationship that he's doing on screen. Not that his character was bad before, but he's almost spun out into something else, which is kind of what I thought he should have done when he first re-went heel, I suppose, when he joined up with Paul Heyman, who was just vanished after Roman Reigns choked him out in Paris. Becky Lynch is just brilliant. I see some people not into this Becky Lynch character, which is fine. You're allowed your opinion, but I think it is absolutely fabulous. Like when Seth Rollins was like, oh, AJ Lee, you want to put your hands on me? Well, thankfully, I know someone that is more than happy to put their hands on you because I'd never strike a woman. And Becky Lynch was like, well, I'm not doing that. Now, it turned out to be a trick, which I liked even more because then she did lay her out with a manhandle slam. But to sell themselves short like this constantly, and it will be different for everybody. But there was something about this where I kind of felt myself leaning in their direction more than CM Punk and AJ Lee's, which makes no sense because quite clearly they are the baby faces and they are the heels. But I think it's because this is so dumb, right? This is so silly. I don't really mean this. This is me on my child level. But because CM Punk made such a big deal of, well, we came out together to the same music and you didn't. It's like, were you 9? Why is that your insults? AJ Lee also threatened to shrank Becky Lynch. It's like, what is going on? This match is going to be fantastic. I think they should make it over the top and stupid and silly. They shouldn't take this seriously at all because it needs to be taken seriously. And I think that's why I like what Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins are doing so much. I want this stuff to be entertaining. When it's full-on intergender WWE, which they always treat with a certain irreverence, I would say, that I think if everybody leans into that, it just makes it so much better. And this was good. But man, I'm on Team Becky. I'm on Team Seth because I just think together they are brilliant. I would not keep them together. They can interact with each other. What I would do, again, check out my predictions video for my in-depth look. I would have AJ Lee win, and then you can do the Intercontinental title feud. They just spin off over there, and Punk and Rollins spin off over here. And I'm not 100% sure this was ever a long-term plan. So whatever you were going to do with Punk and Rollins, you should do. And then, yes, within 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, whatever WWE feels like it, CM Punk should be the world champion properly. AJ Lee should be the Intercontinental champion properly. See out these feuds, and then move on to something else. I mean, who CM Punk would fight with after that, I do not know. But I think this would be really, really good. And it was great here. And just seeing them all together, you know what I'm like. I'm a massive nerd. I enjoyed the personal side of wrestling and thinking, isn't it nice? It's like take your spouse to work day. And I'm sure that they never in their wildest dreams thought they were going to be able to do this, especially under the old regime. So it's nice that they're all back, because all of them sort of, like Becky Lynch, obviously, before she joined WWE, had that injury. She thought she was going to wrestle again. Seth Rollins had so many knee injuries. We know the CM Punk story, we know the AJ Lee story. So this is almost like a full circle moment for all of them. So it was fun. It was entertaining. I would have shaved a few minutes off it, just I always think less is more. But again, the fans were so into it. They were going crazy. AJ Lee chants, CM Punk chants. Arguably, CM Punk was still the most over guy in this, which just goes to show the anomaly that he is. But yeah, I mean, a massive tip of the hat to Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, who were funny, who were hilarious, who were happy to be the butt of the joke. I really wish more people in wrestling would be happy to be the butt of the joke, especially if you're a bad guy, because it always works, especially if you sell it in the right way, as a pretty good segment. Otherwise, distractions did run the night. I mean, Roxanne Perez versus Liv Valkyria was good. At least Raquel Rodriguez got sent away. Though actually, I suppose this is the other big thing that did happen. Liv Valkyria wins, which is good. She needed that. And it kind of shows that, you know, when the Judgment Day are separated, they're not as strong as when they are together. They then beat her up, obviously. And Bayley makes a return. Now, throughout the evening, we saw Hugger Bayley, which we saw here. And Corey Grace having a meltdown. Couldn't believe somebody was getting a cuddle. Then we saw Ding Dong Hello Bayley when later on Liv Valkyria tried to enter her room. And then I guess she became normal heel Bayley because she yelled at Lyra. Now, listen, this is silly. This is over the top. You can argue it's dumb. You can call it 2 + 2 = potato. But it's also full-on sports entertainment. I need a little bit of this on my WWE shows. And why not do it with Bayley? I think Bayley has been treated ridiculously this year. Missed WrestleMania, came back, had this weird thing with Lyra, and then went away again. Now she's back again, right? But at least we have given her a silly character to play with. I do think it's a little bit curious that Lyra Valkyria was kind of scared of Bayley. She lost the rage for her costing her the IC title very quickly. That's almost been dropped entirely. Lyra Valkyria's not talking about that at all. So I hope we do lean back into that. But listen, good match. Of course it's going to lead to Bayley versus Lyra. I think that's been made very clear. We'll do the tag team match first against the Judgment Day. But allowing Bayley just to be completely nuts and off her rocker, I actually think is quite fun. And what else were you going to do at her at this stage? I am a bit worried we're leaning into Big Show territory here, because she came back a face, and then she's kind of gone heel, and I hear she's babyface and heel. So by the end of it, she could have changed about 62 times. But I've always felt like WWE didn't really push Bayley in the way that they should have done, like not featured on posters. We've talked about that time and time again. Missing WrestleMania 41, whatever the flub, is always going to be a knock on that as well. When it's this redonkulous, I can't help but like it, right? I think wrestling should do more of this, because then if you do have a shot at this kind of Raw that was just a bit wishy-washy and maybe not on the level that you were hoping it would be, you get something like this and you just laugh your ass off, right? And of course, throughout the rest of the night, it was just distraction, distraction, distraction. The Grand Americano now has 3 of them. We knew that already. They did the Spider-Man meme, so shout out to them. But that was a distraction. The New Day match had a distraction. There was something else that had a distraction as well. I'm not going to spend too long on this because it's boring. I bore myself because it's all I talk about. But it kind of ties into the main event too. Just do something different. You're allowed. And the Raw tag team scene. I mean, Finn Balor and JD McDonough are on here yelling at Dominic Mysterio, who is now the mega Intercontinental Champion, because he won the AAA World Championship, which is fantastic. And Rusev challenged him as well. Totally down for that. I think that will be awesome. And El Grande Americano, the 3 of them, stopped AJ Styles and they stopped Dragon Lee. So you have to imagine that's going to be some kind of tag team match. But there is 3 of them. I can't figure out who the third one is. One is definitely Pete Dunne, I'm pretty sure. But you also have a 4th one that is Chad Gable. I don't know how that works. Now, the match was really, really good, as was Penta versus Kofi Kingston, which of course also had that distraction. There, you can see what WWE is doing. There, the babyface won. Here, the babyface lost. So they are trying to sort of, show that it's not always the way. And Lara won too. But it doesn't, I don't know where... But I just don't know where anything is going. Like, thank goodness Rusev did sort of get in Dom's face, because that title kind of moves all over the place. The Raw tag team belts are nothing. Like, we did basically prove that Penta is... No, Dragon Lee is going to team up. Who the flub is going to team up with the War Raiders? I can't remember now. I'm getting confused. To take on the New Day. Penta, right? Yeah, it was Penta, right? So it's going to be Penta and the War Raiders. I think originally that spot was meant to be Andrade and Phoenix, but obviously the stuff happened with Andrade, so we've changed our mind. But even having the War Raiders back, we have seen them go for the tag team titles. We need brand new people to take on JD McDonough and Finn Balor, who just do not defend those belts at all. And it's mad, because SmackDown, they defend them all the time, and Raw, they never defend them all the time. So I find that very curious, and I find that very weird. I do think everything we're doing with Asuka is awesome, though. We did get Stephanie Vaquer taking on Kairi Sane here. Asuka made Kairi Sane do this, but she's quite clearly going to go full-on mega heel at WrestlePalooza. She's told Io Sky, I'm going to be involved in your Stephanie Vaquer match. I think Stephanie will win, and then we can go straight into the Io Sky versus Asuka stuff, with Rhea Ripley being around too, probably. Although, really, She seems to have just accepted what Asuka said, so maybe you could do Stephanie Vaquer versus Rhea Ripley, but I very much doubt that. But Asuka is carrying all of this. And listen, the Kyrie versus Stephanie Vaquer match was good, especially because Stephanie Vaquer just won, which she does need going into the match with Io Sky. The build has been lame, just because for some reason Stephanie Vaquer wasn't on Raw last week, that she was on NXT. But I want to start tiptoeing around this. The same reason like Rhea Ripley doesn't get used at all, apart from saying 8 words into a microphone every week. Maybe there's something going on. Like, I was critical about the Andrade thing, then we learned stuff. I was worried about why Wardlow wasn't speaking, then we learned stuff. So I don't want to throw all my eggs in one basket here, and I definitely don't want anyone to be injured. But there may actually be a justification for all of it. But in terms of what I'm watching and the feedback I get from, tuning in, we've got to do more with Rhea Ripley. I'm sure we'll wait until after WrestlePalooza, but when you have someone that big of a star, I think you should just be putting her out in front of the crowd to cut promos. She'll get better too if you allow her to do that. And yeah, I think Stephanie Vaquer will become the champion. Then even Asuka can be the warrior that goes in and maybe challenges her. But she's so funny. Like, it's so over the top. I think she just realizes it's very much like a Bayley situation. So you're going to turn me heel, and Kyrie's going to be this weird caught in the middle person. I have to be a little bit silly with it. And it works. And also, when she did have the big blazing row with Io Sky, when Io was like, I don't want your help, you idiot. And Asuka was like, well, you're getting it anyway. It worked. There was a bit of emotion there and a bit of an edge. Not Adam Copeland, he went to AEW. So all that stuff is good, and at least it is happening week to week to week. It's not really their fault because Naomi got pregnant, which is the best news ever. But that women's title does feel like it's fallen off a little bit just because there wasn't real. This is why I was worried, right? I said this, and some people said I was wrong because at least it made sense, which was a fair point. But getting Io Sky versus Stephanie Vaquer, even though Io was the one that was going to challenge Naomi, got taken away, and Stephanie Vaquer won that battle royal. Because the build has been so whatever, it doesn't feel like anybody wants that championship, and Rhea just pops up and she changes her mind. Sometimes she's going to earn it. Sometimes she just wants the title shot right now. I think if you had 4 or 5 people really trying to get into a number 1 contender match, you could have actually done that over the last few weeks. Even a tournament, right? As redundant as tournaments have become, it still works and tells you there's an end goal to this, and it's happening at the pay-per-view. Whereas again, Io was here, but she's yelling at Asuka, and then Stephanie Vaquer's here, but then she vanishes, turns up on NXT. Like I've already said, I just think we could have done way more with this. And it's kind of the same with all the belts. Like, Seth Rollins' belt is on pause at the moment, which does make sense. They have something that is completely unique. You need to lead into that. We've talked about the tag team belts that don't exist. Dom does need to get into proper feuds with the IC title, which is why I'm happy for the Rusev thing. The women's tag belts can come and go. You have to wait and see. And Becky Lynch's Intercontinental title is also, but that's been great. I'm not going to criticize the IC title. But we just need some proper big old feuds with championships on the line. I thought this one could be it. And instead, it's fine. I mean, Io Sky versus Stephanie Vaquer could steal the show if they get enough time. I don't think anyone's going to get mad at that. Wishy-washy is the word I'm going with WWE at the moment. I just hope that it's a bit of a lull. It's impossible really to produce compelling television for as long as they have done over the last 3 years. I think it started to drop off around WrestleMania. So maybe we just are in the 6-month lull, and then when we sort of get closer to WrestleMania, maybe even War Games, it picks up again. But it was fine. If somebody came up to me right now and said, Simon, do I need to watch Raw? I'd be like, just check out highlights or listen to me, although you kind of get a scattergun approach here. Check out ups and downs if you want the beat by beat kind of a thing. And where does Jey Uso and LA Knight end up? One of them probably needs to go healed, and we need a championship in there. Does it really matter? You don't always need a title. It goes back to what Becky Lynch said. It's better to tell compelling stories, especially with the women, because then they can be elevated, not just because they're fighting for gold. But if I didn't do what I did for a living, I think I would probably just be catching highlights here and there at the moment. The matches are always really good. It's the finishes that make you go, oh man, I can't believe we're doing it again. And to draw a line under it, I do think we need to get some extra teams on Raw that are not the War Raiders or the Creeds. We can't keep doing that. But JD McDonough and Finn Balor need a proper feud. And also the Judgment Day thing now just needs to come to an end. Like, they went and yelled at Dominic again. He was like, oh, I love him, Grande Americano. He's my best friend in the world. Maybe we can kind of do something with Dragon Lee there as well. I don't know. But we just need to, they're either going to change into something else, they're going to expand. Maybe they're waiting for Liv Morgan to come back, which I kind of I think you can turn Dom face now is the real thing. Everyone was so happy he won the Mega Championship. And everyone was so happy when he won the IC title, even though the follow-up hasn't been ideal. And taking on Rusev, you can argue that he is the babyface. I'm looking forward to that feud. That feud is perfect. Dominic can sell him as a beast and someone he should be scared of. Rusev can be absolutely intimidating. Then I would do what we talked about on the other video. Rusev wins. Sheamus gets his revenge by beating Rusev. And then who is the Intercontinental Champion? It's Sheamus. And what's the last title that he's already wanted? Well, you can figure that out. If you can't, Google it. Now, I'm intrigued to see where you're at with WWE at the moment. I do get conflicting reports. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you think it should be doing something else? Do you think it is in the lull? Drop me a comment, and when you are down there, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which will be me talking about WrestlePalooza and my predictions. Otherwise, new fitness channel, please do subscribe. GrowMind.com/Simon. Use code Simon to get 10% off. Patreon.com/Simon316. $5 for watch-alongs. We just did The Undertaker versus Kurt Angle versus The Rock from 2002. If you would like to feel old, or maybe you've never even seen that match before, search Simon316 on social media, Simon on TikTok, Simon on Cameo, and Simon on Big Cartel and Pro Wrestling Tees. And that is the gambit. I now have to rest my voice. I have done way too much talking, way too much wrestling, and it is going to go. But I appreciate you, my friends. Have a lovely day. Enjoy your week. Mad pay-per-views coming up, and I'll talk to you then.